In part 1 of Sarga-55 of the Yoga Vasistha, today we will discuss in detail topics such as titiksha, forbearance, the illusory nature of dualities, and the universal principles of sat, truth/reality, and asat, unreality/illusion. Yes, these are the exact universal truths we absolutely must unravel today. As you sit before me, Aram, I can clearly see the heavy burden of worldly existence clouding your divine intellect. You look around at the world and you just see endless division, endless sorrow. Well, today, we are going to dispel those shadows completely. The Inquiry of Sri Ram, Deconstructing the Dualities of the Material World. Now, looking at this mapped dialogue from page 210, your questions regarding the unreality of the world are entirely natural, Ram. But you see, they stem from a place of perceived duality, which we must now break down. You're viewing the world as this series of opposing forces that you have to constantly fight against. I am here to tell you that these forces, they're nothing but a mirage. So the real root of all this suffering and separation is born entirely from something called avidya, which literally translates to ignorance. It's a fundamental spiritual blindness. Avidya is exactly what causes the eternal, non-dual reality of Brahman to appear to you as a fragmented, chaotic material world. We have to thoroughly understand this concept before you can even take a single step onto the path of liberation. Just observe how your identification with this temporary physical body practically guarantees an endless cycle of worldly sorrow. It's kind of like a domino effect. First, you've got avijja, which breeds ahankara, or the false ego. Once the ego boldly claims, I am this body, then kama, or desire, instantly emerges to protect and gratify it. And where there's desire based purely on an illusion, dukkha, inevitable suffering, is the only final destination. Moving on to verse 1, the path of forbearance, cultivating titiksha amidst worldly chaos. I am speaking these very words directly to you, Ram, revealing that the dualities of joy and sorrow are truly just illusions dancing on the canvas of your mind. In this first verse, I'm instructing you that all these pairs of opposites we experience, heat and cold, praise and blame, they are absolutely not properties of your true self. They belong merely to the physical senses interacting with the material world. Now, what's really fascinating here on page 210 is the precise architecture of the verse. True detachment requires intellectual precision, right? Not just blind faith. By understanding the profound words of our sacred language, like mithya meaning illusion or dvandava meaning dualities, the instruction isn't simply to ignore the world. No, it's to intellectually realize its total lack of substance, to clearly see it as maya. Because think about it, once you realize you're in a dream, you no longer weep for the treasures you lose inside it. Therefore, you must anchor yourself in titiksha, my disciple. It is the unshakable shield that protects your mind from the turbulent waves of Maya. And to be clear, titiksha is definitely not passive submission. It is a supreme, highly active state of forbearance. It's the profound ability to endure all external sensory inputs with absolute neutrality, keeping your internal peace entirely untouched. By practicing these life lessons, Ram, you're actually applying the ancient Vedic science of the mind to overcome anxieties and achieve true psychological resilience. When you stop emotionally overreacting to every shifting circumstance, you conserve the immense spiritual energy needed for Atmajnana, true self-knowledge. Without titiksha, the mind is just too distracted by worldly noise to ever look within. Now for verse 2, truth and illusion, the universal principles of sat and asat. Read my words carefully here. I am teaching you the ultimate standard of reality. What changes is inherently untrue, and only that which remains eternal is real. Shloka 2 makes this bold, absolute declaration. If a thing has a beginning and an end, it simply does not possess true existence. It is merely a temporary appearance. Spanning pages 211 and 212, the very architecture of our sacred language constructs a perfect philosophical equation for recognizing the Supreme Brahman. Look at words like vinashya, meaning that which perishes, and avinashya, the imperishable. The verse logically deduces that this entire visible cosmos, which is constantly shifting and decaying around us, completely fails the test of ultimate reality. So, what is sat? It's not just some abstract concept. It is your very own immortal nature, completely untouched by the material world. Sat is truth. It is the unmoving, unchanging, eternal witness behind all phenomena. it is Brahman, and Ram, it is who you truly are at your absolute core. Conversely, a Sat encompasses literally everything your physical senses perceive. Ram, a fleeting dream that must eventually dissolve. Your physical body, the vast empires of kings, the passing of time itself, the very stars in the sky, because they are subject to creation and destruction, they are a Sat. They are the grand illusion, Maya, constantly projecting forms onto the formless screen of Sat. It's fascinating to consider, right, what future generations will eventually call modern physics. The realization that matter is mostly just empty space echoes this ancient truth beautifully. What feels so undeniably solid and overwhelming to your senses is, fundamentally, a transient projection. The eternal witness, Sat, is literally the only enduring reality. Grasping these philosophical and scientific parallels radically alters how you experience your waking reality. When you finally align your consciousness with Sat, the fear of death completely evaporates, simply because you realize only Asat dies. Sat simply is forever. Bringing us to our final section, the attainment of liberation, from forbearance to ultimate surrender. This sequential path we're looking at proves that liberation is not a destination you travel to, but an ego you leave behind. You begin with vairagya, actively turning away from worldly desires. You stabilize your mind with titiksha. This clear, undisturbed mind then attains atmajnana, recognizing Sat. In that pure light, the false ego simply drops away in ultimate surrender. And what remains? Moksha, absolute, pure liberation. So I want you to consider this deeply, Ram, because when you truly internalize this realization, you will wake up from the dream of suffering forever. Think about it. Why shed real tears over the burning of a house in a dream? Anchor yourself in the eternal, stand firm in forbearance, and know that you are the invincible, untainted truth. On behalf of the Vedmata AI family, we humbly request that if you found our presentation enlightening, please share this video widely so that authentic knowledge from Indian Vedic texts can reach the masses. Let us all come together to participate in this Gyan Yajna, sacrificial offering of knowledge. Har Har Mahadev.